So hello and welcome back to the channel. In case you were living under a rock, the Champions League semi-final first legs have been and gone, and they were two cracking matches. Now I'm going to analyse both the matches that have just gone on, and I'm going to give you my predictions for who will be playing in the Champions League final. Real Madrid won, Man City won. This was the game that had everyone excited. This was the mega tie of the semi-finals. On one side, you've got Real Madrid, the current holders of the Champions League and the most successful team in the competition's history. And then you've got Pep Guardiola's Man City, a winning machine who have yet to taste the gold, or in this case silver, of the Champions League trophy. For this game, I actually think City were quite lucky. Now, first things first with that, let's address the elephant in the room. The ball was out. Their goal shouldn't have counted. Bernardo Silva, he tried to keep the ball in. The ball had clearly gone out. And De Bruyne, as fantastic a goal as that was, it just shouldn't have counted. The ball was out of play. Now, alongside that, City brought in Erling Haaland to win the Champions League. But Rudiger marked him out the game. And he did what every good defender did. He was just a pest to him, gave him no room, and he probably followed him to the bathroom after all was said and done at half-time and full-time. He was all over him, and Haaland couldn't get a sniff in, and City couldn't get the ball to him. There was also domination from two of Madrid's young superstars. Of course, you had Vinicius Jr., who should have gotten man of the match, and he was taking the mick the entire game. He even tried to rainbow flick Kyle Walker. Yeah, it was unsuccessful, but he nearly got it, and he was fantastic throughout the whole match, as well as Eduardo Camavinga, who, yes, he hates playing left back, but when he's so good there, and he was basically playing centre midfield as well, he was tremendous as well. Carlo Ancelotti just completely out-tacticked Pep Guardiola. He had Camavinga running from the left-back position into the midfield role with players like Modric, who slotted back in there and was almost playing a quarterback role, playing over-the-top balls to the likes of Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr. And then you had Carvajal going in to an almost striker position with Toni Kroos then covering at the right-back position. And they played out from the right and left-back, but it was their centre mids who were doing that. And Pep had no idea how to mark that. And I think Carlo just got it spot on there. Also, poor Jack Grealish. I don't know what it is, but every time he goes over to Spain, he just gets the living daylights kicked out of him. First, it was the likes of Savage pulling his hair in the Atletico Madrid game. And then you've got Carvajal, who, I don't know if he made a successful tackle on Grealish, but he definitely kept him quiet. And he slams him in the board. I mean, poor fella. Haaland's had a fantastic year, but I think next game against Real Madrid, he's got to show why he could potentially win a Ballon d'Or and be the best player in the world. I mean, after the season he's had, why not? He has to go and bully Rudiger. And if it's not Rudiger playing, which I don't know why he would be dropped, but if Eder Militao comes back in the team, Alaba's obviously there, he needs to bully them. He needs to show why he is the best striker in the world. I think the way Pep Guardiola actually wins the second leg is by attacking their fullbacks. Now yes, Carvajal, as accomplished as he is, he's no spring chicken, and defending, he's not actually fantastic. Now, if Grealish can try and run him ragged in the first half, you bring on Phil Foden in the second half, he will be absolutely knackered, and he'll not know what to do. He'll have to get help, and that will then leave Haaland with a lot more room for De Bruyne as well to run into. And then on the other side, you've got the likes of Bernardo Silva, who has to test Camavinga defensively. We all know what he's like going forward, but defensively, he wasn't tested at all the last game. Now, I gave Vinicius his credit, and yes, it was completely due for his first leg performance, but we didn't see enough of Karim Benzema, the current Ballon d'Or winner, and Rodrigo. I just thought there wasn't enough from them. Yes, it all went through Vinicius, but the other two have to get involved. Which leads me to what Carlo should do. He should drop Rodrigo, put Valverde on the right wing, and put Tchouaméni in the middle. I think Rodrigo is much better when he comes off the bench. And then with Tchouaméni in the middle, you could still have Kroos and Modric in that right and left back area with Carvajal and Camavinga going forward when you're attacking. And Tchouaméni, he can hold in the middle, but he can also go forward. And I think bringing Rodrigo off the bench as an impact sub, it'll just work a lot better for them. Now, all that being said, I actually think City will be the team to advance. I think they'll win the game 3-2 and go through 4-3 on aggregate. I think the likes of Haaland, he'll get his goal. I think De Bruyne or Bernardo Silva will get another one. And I think either John Stones or Nathan Ake will get the other one from a corner. And then you look at Real Madrid, I think Benzema will get his goal, and I think Vinicius Jr. will get another one. I just think that City will have too much for them at home. And as well as that, Real Madrid, after drawing their first game at home, have never actually progressed from a semi-final when they've done that. And I think that will continue to be the case. I see City going to Istanbul. Now, you cannot mention Istanbul without thinking of AC Milan, which brings me to the next game, the Milan derby. AC Milan 0, Inter Milan 2. Now, what I've got to start off by saying is, what an atmosphere. I've been to the San Siro myself, and it is the best stadium I've ever been to other than Tynecastle Park. It's fantastic. I mean, it really epitomises what a Champions League semi-final atmosphere should actually be like. It was like a cauldron in there between two historically fantastic teams. And that game, Inter Milan blew AC Milan out of the water. I mean, it wasn't even close. I mean, Inter Milan truly put on a fantastic game for everyone to see. I mean, they were creative, they were clinical, they were composed, and they were well organised. Where AC Milan, they just looked lost without Rafael Leao, and they didn't look like they had a game plan at all. I mean, the team were so sloppy in possession. They had no creative spark, which I thought Brahim Diaz could have potentially been, and they really looked like they lacked leadership out there. And maybe that's just from the experience of not being in a Champions League semi-final, whereas Inter Milan obviously got to the Europa League final all those years ago, and a lot of the team is very similar. I know he's the captain as well, but Calabria was kind of at fault for both the goals. The first one, I'll kind of give him a pass. Why was he marking Dzeko? I mean, the pure size difference you can see between them. But the second one, it's kind of not just his fault, it's the whole team's fault. But Mkhitaryan just runs right through, and no one puts in a tackle. But as captain, he should really be taking a lot more accountability and show his leadership and make sure that Mkhitaryan gets stopped, because that's the easiest goal he will ever score. Calhanoglu also nearly scored one of the best goals that I've ever seen. It absolutely thunderous strike which smacked off the post. And then yes, Tonali had a chance in the second half which also struck the post, but AC Milan never really looked into it. Bastoni ran through the entire team and just passed it to the midfielder who just fluffed his lines. I mean, it really could have got embarrassing, and there was a few penalty calls, and on another day some of those get given, some of them don't get overturned as well. And I think AC Milan will count themselves very lucky to still kind of be in the tie. The only chance AC Milan actually have to go through is by risking Leao. Now, you just have to risk him. If not, you don't stand a chance. And that's just a fact. As well as that, Diaz has to be a lot more creative. He's got to be taking players on and be getting the better of them. Work some 1-2s with Tonali, and alongside that, Theo Hernandez is supposed to be the best left back in the world. And yes, we've seen him do it for France. He's fantastic going forward. But we didn't see any of him actually going forward in that first leg. It was really disappointing to see. And those three are going to be the key men. Now, on Inter's side, more of the same, really. The only thing they shouldn't do is do not sit in. It never sits well for anyone. Yes, you've got a 2-goal lead, but go try and extend that. Make it a lot more difficult for them. Because if you sit in and invite pressure. Eventually they'll get through. They've got a quality attack line if Leao is in the team, obviously with Giroud up there as well. Do not sit in. I actually think the game will finish 1 apiece. I think that Leao will get his goal, but I think Barella will equalise on the night, putting Inter Milan 3-1 up on aggregate, finishing 3-1, with them, not AC Milan, going to Istanbul to face Man City. And you can mark my words that the final will be the Balotelli derby, Man City versus Inter Milan, for the first time ever, with City chasing their first European Cup and Inter Milan chasing their 4th. It is a guarantee. So let me know what you thought of the first legs of the semi-finals. Do you think that Real Madrid will actually go through versus AC Milan and it will be a Carlo Ancelotti type derby? Please let me know. As well as that, please give a like, give a subscribe and share it around. That would be greatly appreciated. Cheers.